That's not me in the picture. The thought hit me so hard I felt my chest tighten. I was lying in bed, phone in hand, half asleep, and scrolling through Instagram when I saw it. Daniel, my Daniel, standing in front of a fancy restaurant with his arm around a girl I'd never seen before. She was smiling, leaning into him like she'd been there 1,000 times. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The post wasn't even from his account. It was from one of his friends. They had tagged him and the girl, but not me. My name wasn't anywhere. I stared at it for a long time, my thumb hovering over the screen. Maybe it's just a friend, I told myself. Maybe it's nothing. But something about the way he looked at her, not at the camera, but at her, made my stomach twist. It was the same way he used to look at me when we first started dating. I clicked on his profile. No new posts, no trace of her. Then I clicked on the tagged section and started scrolling. That's when I saw another one. This time they were sitting in what looked like a cinema lobby, holding popcorn, heads close together like they were sharing a secret. My phone buzzed. It was a message from him. Daniel. Hey babe, you asleep? Me. No. Long day, can't wait to see you tomorrow. I stared at the words. My hands were shaking, but I typed back, me. Okay, good night. I didn't ask about the picture. I didn't even hint at it. I just put the phone down and lay there, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere deep inside, I knew. Something wasn't right. The next day, I told myself I wasn't going to confront him. If I wanted the truth, I needed more than a couple of Instagram photos. That was the day I decided to find her. I woke up with a headache. It felt like the kind you get after crying, but I hadn't cried. I had just stared at the ceiling until morning came, counting the lines in the paint and the seconds in my chest. I brushed my teeth, took a shower, and dressed like a robot. I left my hair in a bun. I didn't feel beautiful. I felt blank. On my way to work, Lagos moved the way Lagos always moves. Honking, yelling, hurrying. A Danfo bus cut across the road like it owned it. The driver stuck his hand out and waved, like that small wave could fix the madness he just caused. A woman walked past with bread balanced on a tray. I watched the bread because it was easier than watching my thoughts. I told myself I was going to focus on tasks, emails, calls, lunch, anything but the picture. By noon, I had failed. At my desk, I opened Instagram again. The app knew me too well. It showed me the same friend's post without asking. Daniel in front of that restaurant. The girl's head on his shoulder like a claim. I read the caption again, even though I knew the words by heart now. Night out with the best people. Best people. Not me. Not even tagged. I clicked the tags. It opened Daniel's name and another name, @EmilySquo. The rest of the username blurred for a second because my eyes went hot. I blinked slow. Then I pressed and held the tag. It opened her profile. Private. A locked little padlock sat like a dare next to her name. Her display photo was a close-up of just her hand and a soft smile. I could only see a dimple and part of her cheekbone. She was pretty. She didn't need filters to tell me that. I looked at her bio. 3 simple lines. Marketing and media. Books, long walks, pictures of food. Be kind. Be kind. My mouth went dry. I clicked the mutual friends. There were 5. One was the friend who posted the photo. 2 were boys I knew from Daniel's campus days. 1 was a girl I met once at a house party. The last one was a guy named Peter. I only knew because he used to comment on Daniel's football posts with emojis and my man, energy. I told myself, you can back out now. You don't have to fall down this hole. But my thumb didn't listen. It moved on its own, tapping through, opening profiles, reading old comments, reading jokes I didn't understand, but felt like I should have understood. I checked Daniel's profile next. I went to his following. He was following Emily Score. Of course he was. He followed lots of people, but this felt different now. I opened his likes. It took time, but I scrolled and scrolled through the posts he liked, as far as the app would let me, looking for her name. It was there often. Not every time, but often enough to make a pattern in my head. He liked posts with sunset photos, coffee mugs on windowsills, plates of pasta, and a pair of white sneakers tied on a beach rock. The comments under those posts were full of friendly laughter, inside jokes, and little hearts from people who knew her. I caught Daniel's username in a few places. He only left emojis, the safe kind a man can explain away. I opened my notes app and started writing things down. It felt silly at first, but it kept me calm. Friends post, Daniel plus girl, tagged Emily, front of outdoor garden. Second post, cinema lobby, popcorn, tagged Daniel plus Emily, posted last weekend. Daniel liked at least 9 of her posts in the last 3 months. Mutual friends, 5, count them. Bio says marketing and media. I stopped and asked myself a question I didn't want to ask. How long has he been doing this? I clicked my own profile. I stared at photos of me and Daniel smiling at small things. My birthday cake, the new plant I bought, a silly video where he messed up the lyrics to a song and we laughed. I checked the dates. I checked his comments. I checked if she had liked anything. She hadn't. But why would she? We weren't connected. The internet has walls you can build on purpose. This felt like one of those walls. I put my phone face down and tried to breathe. My work inbox had 3 red flags. I answered the first email badly and the second one slowly. I deleted a sentence in the third and typed it again. When I looked at the time, it was 3 p.m. The office generator hummed through the wall like a tired bee. The hum felt like it was inside my skull. I picked up my phone again. I typed @EmilyScore into the search bar and pressed the follow button. I stared at the requested button and wondered if she would accept. Then I felt foolish. Why would she accept a stranger? But I had seen people open their books for strangers every day online. It might work, it might not. I needed more. I opened Facebook. Her full name was on the tag under the Instagram post, so I typed it out. I got 5 results. I clicked each one. 2 were not her. 2 had no visible photos at all. 1 had a profile photo that matched the dimple and cheekbone from Instagram. Private again. But Facebook always leaves breadcrumbs. I checked her about. It was blank. I checked her friends. Hidden. I looked at the public posts section. There were 2 old posts visible without being friends. A book quote shared 2 years ago. A group photo from a charity walk. The caption said, "Walk for Girls." 30 comments, mostly hearts. I clicked the photo. I zoomed in on faces. I didn't see Daniel, but I saw the friend who had posted the restaurant photo. He was in the back, wearing sunglasses. That meant they had all been in the same circles for a while. Not just last weekend. Not just by chance. I went back to Instagram. Still private. Still requested. I opened her followers list. It was hidden. I opened the outdoor garden restaurant tag instead. The place had a location page. People posted photos there all the time. I scrolled through them, looking for him, looking for her. After 10 minutes, I saw a blurry background of a photo that looked like his shirt. I zoomed in. It wasn't him. I kept going. Then I found one that hit me like a slap. The shot was of a plate, grilled fish with plantains. In the corner of the picture, almost cut off, I saw a familiar bracelet. A simple leather strap with a silver knot. Daniel wore that bracelet every day. He once said his sister gave it to him for luck. The photo was posted by an account with a food name, not a person, but they tagged the restaurant. No tags for people. No caption beyond best dinner. I took a screenshot anyway and put it in a folder on my phone I named Notes because I needed a calm word to sit on top of my storm. I asked myself again, how long? No answer. Just the hum of the generator and the weight in my chest. At 5 p.m., I messaged Daniel. How's your day? Daniel, mad. Meetings? You? Me. Same. Tired. Daniel, let me call you later. 10? Me. Okay. I stared at the okay after I sent it. It felt small and neat, like a lie wrapped in brown paper. I left the office right after 6 and took a rideshare to the island. The sky was soft and gray. I told the driver, outdoor garden, and he nodded like he had driven there 100 times. Maybe he had. I kept the window down to feel the air. I kept telling myself I wasn't crazy. I had to see the place with my own eyes, like seeing a stage after the actors go home. How the lights look, how the chairs sit, what the floor remembers. The restaurant was calmer than I expected. Fairy lights hung over a courtyard where people took pictures of their drinks. A couple at the corner table laughed too loud and then hushed themselves, like they were scared of what their laughter might say. I walked inside and asked for a table. I sat where I could see the entrance and the bar and the little wall where people took mirror selfies on their way out. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Maybe I just wanted to know the exact color of the wall behind that photo. It was green. The photo had made it look darker. In real life, it was softer, almost like leaf soup. I took out my phone and checked @EmilyScore again. No approval yet. I scrolled the location tag instead and then the friend's profile. He had posted stories from last weekend. The cinema, the same popcorn bucket, the same laugh. The stories had expired by now, but he kept highlights. I tapped the highlight circle. There it was, a quick 3-second clip of Daniel, grinning, with a girl half in frame. I paused the video. I zoomed. The frame was grainy, but I could see a light scar on her wrist, a tiny white line. She was wearing a gold ring on her right hand, not the ring finger, the middle one. Nothing big, but details build a shape in your head. This shape was becoming a person. My waiter brought a drink. I thanked him and asked, "Do you know if this place is busy on Fridays?" He smiled and said, "Very. Date night." "Do the same people come often?" He laughed. "You'll be surprised. Some people have their table like church chairs." That made me think of Daniel's favorite seat, the one where he could see the door and still watch the TV. Suddenly, I pictured that seat with someone else in it. My throat tightened. I swallowed and said nothing. I took a slow lap around the courtyard after I paid, pretending to admire the lights. I checked the wall again, the doorway, the exact angle where the photo must have been taken. Then I left. On the street outside, the night noise rushed over me like water. Someone was selling suya at the corner. The smell put a hand on my shoulder and reminded me I hadn't eaten. I bought a small pack and chewed without tasting. When I reached the gate of my place, my phone buzzed. @Emily_st had accepted my follow request. My hands went cold in the heat. I locked my door and sat on my bed without taking off my shoes. I opened her profile and scrolled carefully, like the screen might bite me. Her photos were clean. She liked sunlight. She liked simple things. Books by windows, shoes by doors, a hand on a cup, a view of the sea from a cheap place that held joy anyway. She didn't show her face often, but when she did, she looked straight into the camera like the world was a mirror she recognized. She posted captions that were short, a few emojis, a few names of places, dates. I started connecting the dots. On March 14th, she posted a photo of 2 bowls of pasta and a short caption, "Took the best advice, carbs cure everything." I checked that date in my messages with Daniel. That was the night he said he had a late meeting and would call me after. He called me at 11 p.m. He sounded happy and tired. I had laughed and said, "You should eat. You sound hungry." He had said, "I'll find something." On April 2nd, she posted a photo of a film ticket stub and said, "Second time better than the first." She didn't say which film, but Daniel and I had plans on April 2nd. He moved them to April 3rd because work emergency. I had been a bit upset, but I forgave him because he sent me a voice note saying he was sorry and he would make it up to me. On April 3rd, he showed up with ice cream and made me laugh. Now my chest pinched when I remembered it. April 2nd had been someone else's laughter day. On May 9th, she posted a picture at the beach. 2 pairs of feet, one pair with that same leather bracelet around the ankle. No, not a bracelet. It just looked like one at a glance. I zoomed in and felt dizzy. It was a thin leather strap tied around the top of a sandal. The knot looked like the one on Daniel's wrist. Maybe I was seeing what I wanted to see. Maybe it was just a knot. I stared until my eyes watered. I scrolled further back. The pattern didn't stop. There were gaps where she posted nothing for days, then little bursts of joy again. In between, Daniel's name kept popping up in the likes. He had been careful in the comments. But the timing told its own story. I opened our chat. I read my own words with new eyes. Me saying miss you, him saying soon, me sending heart emojis, him sending a clip of a song and saying this made me think of you. I thought of how my heart had lifted that day like a balloon. Now it felt like a flat thing on the floor. At 9:52 p.m., a message came from Daniel. "Daniel, hey babe, still on a call, 10:15 instead?" Me sure. I set the phone down and stood in front of the mirror. My hair had loosened from the bun. I stared at my face and tried to read it like a caption. I couldn't. The face said nothing except that it wanted sleep and couldn't have it. Then a new notification popped up from Instagram. @Emily_Stork had posted to her story. I tapped it. A video flickered to life. A table set for 2. 2 wine glasses. A small cake with the words, "You did it," in icing. A man's hand reached into the frame and tapped the cake lightly with a fork, like a joke. The hand wore a familiar watch, the black watch with a scratch near the face. Daniel's watch. I remembered teasing him about that scratch last year. It gives it character, he had said. The video ended before I could breathe. I watched it again. The watch. The fork. The quiet laugh at the end, cut off by the story's time limit. I clicked her profile picture to see if there were more posts. There was one photo from earlier in the day, a blurry shot of new office keys and a desk chair. The caption said, "New beginnings. Scared, but ready." I scrolled back to the story. It had music attached, some soft song I didn't know. The lyrics said something about safe places. My eyes burned. I took a screenshot. I added it to the notes folder. My hand was steady, but inside I felt like someone had pulled a rug out from under me and I was still mid-fall. I didn't message her. Not yet. I just watched the story again and again. The fork tap, the laugh, the watch. The watch was the kind of detail you don't forget. If you know someone closely, you know their small things. Their bracelets, their watches, the way they tap a table when they think, the way they leave their phone face down like a habit learned from guilt or privacy or both. At 10:18 p.m., Daniel called. I let it ring twice and picked up. "Hey," he said, warm and easy. "How's my girl?" I swallowed. "Fine. You?" "Long day," he said. I heard plates clink in the background. A chair moved, then silence. "You ate?" "A little." "Good. I was thinking of you. Friday, let me take you out. Dress up for me." "Where?" I asked. I kept my voice light. I was surprised at how normal I sounded. He chuckled. "Surprise. Somewhere nice." "Okay," I said. "Somewhere like outdoor garden?" He paused. It was small, but I heard it. "Why that place?" "No reason," I said. "Heard it's good." "It's fine," he said. Casual again. "We'll see. Let me call you in the morning. Sleep early." We talked about nothing for a few more minutes. He told me a joke about his friend's boss. I laughed at the right spot. He asked if I missed him. I said, "Always." I hung up and stared at the call log. Then I opened Emily again and watched the story one last time. I pressed the 3 dots to see who could see it. Of course, I couldn't see the list. That belonged to her, but I knew I was on it now. She had accepted me, a stranger with a soft name and no threat painted on her forehead. I felt guilty and angry and sad, all at once. Not at her. At him. At the version of myself that had believed a clean story with no cracks. I wrote in my notes, April tick, cinema highlight. March 14, pasta night matches his late meeting. Today, new job for her? Celebration dinner with cake, his watch in the story. I closed the app and lay down. The room felt too small for my thoughts. I balanced my phone on my chest and stared at the blinking blue light on my speaker where power flickered. Outside, a bike went past fast, the sound tearing the air and then gone. The night was thin. I thought about the woman in the video. Emily. I thought about her bio. Be kind. I whispered to the ceiling, I don't want to hurt her. My own words surprised me. They felt heavy and true. I didn't want to fight a stranger for a man who had sold both of us the same dream in different boxes. I wanted the truth. I wanted dignity. I wanted the lies to stop. I rolled over and typed a message to myself, not to anyone else. Point 3, doubts that won't go away. Point 4, online detective mode. Then I opened a new message thread and typed Emily's name in the to line, just to see how it looked. I didn't write anything under it. Not yet. I watched the cursor blink. It looked like a small heartbeat on a white page, waiting. I locked my phone and closed my eyes, and in the dark behind my lids, I saw the watch again, shining a little under the warm light, that tiny scratch catching it and throwing it back like a signal. I wasn't ready to press send, but I was closer than I had been that morning. And I knew, deep down, when I did, I wouldn't be writing to an enemy. I would be writing to another woman standing on the same thin plank, both of us forced out over the same drop by the same hands. The hum of the generator steadied. Somewhere in the building, a neighbor laughed at something on TV. I finally let a tear slip. Just one. Then another. I wiped my face with the back of my hand and whispered to the room, tomorrow. I didn't sleep much that night. My phone sat under my pillow like it was holding its own breath. Every time I drifted off, I saw that video again. His hand, the fork, the watch. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to just watch from behind a screen. I needed to see how deep this thing went. At work, I opened Emily's Instagram again and scrolled slowly, looking for clues I had missed before. I didn't just look at her pictures this time. I looked at the comments, the names that kept showing up, the emojis that repeated. Daniel's name was there in quiet places, liking a random shot of coffee, a street photo of her holding a bag of groceries, a blurry picture of her bookshelf, the kind of posts you only like if you know the person well. Then I started comparing dates. I opened my own gallery on my phone. I pulled up a selfie Daniel and I took in April. That was the day he said he was just home resting. The timestamp said April 9th. On April 8th, Emily had posted a shot of her at the beach, and in the comments, Daniel had left a wave emoji and a palm tree. April 8, April 9, 2 different stories from the same mouth. I went deeper. Every time Daniel told me he was too busy to see me, I checked if Emily had posted something. Too many times, the timelines lined up. A dinner post from her matched a late meeting from him. A movie ticket from her matched a helping my cousin move from him. The more I looked, the less my relationship made sense. It wasn't just the posts. It was the way they mirrored things he did with me. The same restaurant seats, the same coffee shop window, the same movie quotes he had sent to me in texts. He'd left them as comments under her posts months earlier. That one hurt the most. I had thought those quotes were private jokes between us. Now I knew I was laughing at secondhand lines. At lunchtime, I stepped outside the office and leaned against the wall with my phone. The sun was hot on my skin, but I barely felt it. I had a screenshot folder full of proof, yet something in me still needed more. Screenshots are easy to deny. Real life isn't. That's when I decided I'd go where I knew they had both been. The first place that came to mind was the outdoor garden, the restaurant from the picture. The one where her head rested on his shoulder like it belonged there. I knew their Friday nights were busy, and I didn't want to be noticed. So I planned for a weekday. I told myself I was just going to look around, but a small part of me hoped, no needed, to see them together with my own eyes. Friday came fast. After work, I changed into jeans and a plain t-shirt so I'd blend in. No makeup. I tied my hair back and wore glasses I didn't even need just to look different. The ride there felt longer than usual. The city was alive with Friday noise. Vendors shouting, horns blaring, music spilling out of shops. It was a normal Lagos night, but for me, everything felt louder, closer. When I arrived, the courtyard was lit with strings of fairy lights. People laughed over cocktails. The smell of grilled fish and pepper soup hung in the air. I asked for a table near the back, close enough to see the main entrance without looking obvious. The seat I chose had a perfect line of sight to the door, and to Daniel's favorite table, the one near the corner, just far enough from the crowd to feel private. I sat there for an hour. I sipped a drink slowly, phone in hand but not scrolling. Every time someone walked in, I looked up. My heart thumped when I saw a tall figure in a white shirt, but it wasn't him. Half an hour later, I was about to give up when the door opened again. Daniel. Dark blue shirt, the same watch, that easy smile I'd once melted over. And beside him, Emily. They didn't notice me. She was laughing at something he whispered as they walked in. They headed straight for that table, the one I had been staring at all night. He pulled her chair out before sitting down, the same way he had done for me the first time we came here. My drink tasted like dust in my mouth. I watched them order. I watched her lean in, talking with her hands, and him nodding like every word she said was important. I couldn't hear them, but I knew his expressions. I'd read them 100 times. They stayed for over an hour. When the food came, he gave her the bigger piece of fish, just like he always gave me the bigger piece of meat. Little habits, small enough to miss, big enough to break you when you notice them. At one point, her phone rang and she excused herself. That's when I saw it clearly. Daniel picked up his phone, typed quickly, and smiled at the screen. I checked my messages. A new one from him. Daniel, thinking of you. The laugh that escaped me was short and bitter. When she returned, he put his phone away like nothing had happened. They left before I did. I waited 5 minutes before standing up. I walked past their table on my way out. The chairs still held the shape of where they'd been sitting. His cup was empty, hers half full. The bill folder was tucked under a plate. Outside, the air felt heavier. I walked to the roadside, pretending to be on a call until they were gone from sight. My chest hurt, but not from surprise. I'd known. This was just the confirmation I had been chasing. In the car home, I stared out the window at the blur of streetlights. My mind kept replaying how natural they looked together. Not like a fling, not like something new, like a couple who had already built their little routines. That night, I sat on my bed with the screenshots in front of me. The dates, the comments, the restaurant, the text he sent me while sitting across from her. All of it lined up now. There was no more maybe, no more guessing. Daniel wasn't cheating on Emily with me. He was cheating on me with Emily. And that was the part that hurt in a way I didn't have words for. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was shocked anymore. Shock had passed. What was left was a heavy, steady knowing that refused to let my brain rest. The images kept playing, the restaurant table, his hand on the menu, the way he smiled at her like the world wasn't holding secrets in his pocket. I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling, and the same thought kept circling me like a mosquito. She doesn't know. Emily didn't know she was sharing him. She didn't know she was smiling over food with a man who had sent another woman a thinking of you text in the same breath. She didn't know that the same way he poured her a drink, he'd once poured mine. That the same compliments he gave her, he'd given me word for word. And I hated that. Not because I wanted her to hurt, but because I knew how it felt to be in her seat. The main seat. The one that feels safe. The one that makes you think this is mine. I knew what it would feel like for that seat to be yanked away. I kept asking myself if it was my place to tell her. What if she didn't believe me? What if she thought I was just trying to break them up? What if she already knew and didn't care? But then I remembered her bio on Instagram. Be kind. And I thought, maybe being kind isn't just about smiling at strangers and posting soft quotes. Maybe it's also about not letting another woman sit in the dark when you're holding the torch. By morning, I had decided I was going to tell her. I spent the whole day rehearsing in my head how to start, what to show, which words wouldn't sound like an attack. At lunch, I pulled up her profile and tapped the message button. The empty chat box stared at me like a dare. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time. Finally, I typed, "Me. Hi, Emily. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk about someone we both know. I'm not here to start drama. I just think you deserve to see something." I reread it 3 times before sending it. My heart pounded like I'd just run up a hill. She didn't reply right away. I went back to work, checking my phone every 5 minutes like a teenager waiting for exam results. By the time I was heading home, there was still nothing. It wasn't until 9:07 p.m. that I saw the typing bubble appear. Then disappear, then appear again. Finally, her reply came, "Emily, who are you? And what do you mean?" I breathed out slowly and typed back, "Me. I'm someone who's been seeing Daniel. I think you're his girlfriend. I didn't know until recently. I have proof if you're willing to meet me." It took her 15 minutes to answer. "Send the proof here." I hesitated. I didn't want it to be some cold exchange of screenshots. I needed her to see my face when I said it. "Me. I'd rather meet in person. If you don't want to, that's fine. But I think this deserves more than just a chat box." Another long pause. Then Emily, "Fine. Tomorrow. Where?" We agreed on a quiet cafe not far from the outdoor garden. Neutral ground. Public, but not too busy. The next day, I got there early. I didn't know what she looked like beyond the half-face pictures on Instagram. I picked a corner table where I could see the door. I ordered tea I had no intention of drinking. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept telling myself, "You're not the bad guy here. You're not the bad guy." But that didn't stop my stomach from tightening every time I pictured her walking in. When she finally did, I knew it was her instantly. She had the same posture I'd seen in her photos, the same calm way of looking around like she didn't need to rush. She wore a plain blue dress and carried a small bag. Her hair was braided, long and neat. She spotted me and walked over. "Amara?" she asked quietly. "Yes," I said, standing halfway before sitting again. Up close, she looked tired, like she hadn't slept well either. "So," she said, sliding into the chair across from me, "you have something to tell me about my boyfriend?" I didn't waste time. I pulled my phone out and opened the folder of screenshots. "This is from last Friday," I said, showing her the photo of Daniel and me at a small restaurant, dated and time-stamped. "And this." I swiped to the video from her story with the cake and his watch. That was the same week. He was texting me during that dinner. Her eyes stayed on the screen. She didn't flinch, but I saw her jaw tighten. I showed her more. Our messages, his excuses on days that matched her posts, the location tag photos, the mutual friends post from outdoor garden. For a while, she said nothing. She just scrolled through my phone slowly, her thumb moving like she was turning over a heavy stone in her mind. When she finally spoke, her voice was low. "We've been together for over a year." I nodded. "Me too." Almost the same time. She gave a short, humorless laugh. "He's been running 2 relationships like a job." "I didn't know," I said quickly. "If I had, I wouldn't have stayed. I'm not here to compete with you. I'm here because he's been lying to both of us." Emily leaned back, crossing her arms. "You're sure there's no one else?" I hesitated. I don't know. With how easy it was for him to do this, there could be. She stared past me for a moment, like she was looking at something far away. "He told me you were just a friend of his cousin, that you lived on the mainland and barely talked." "That's the thing," I said. "He's probably told me things about you too, lies that kept us from crossing paths." She nodded slowly, her eyes narrowing as if pieces were clicking together. That explains why he never wanted me to meet certain friends, or why he always forgot his phone in the car when we went out. We sat in silence for a minute. The cafe music was soft, but I could still hear the clink of cups and the hiss of the espresso machine. Then Emily asked, "What do you want to do?" I took a breath. "I'm done with him. I just needed you to know before I blocked him everywhere. But I also think you should decide for yourself." Her mouth twisted in a half smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You think I'm going to stay with him after this?" "I don't know you well enough to say, but I know people forgive worse. I've forgiven worse before." She shook her head. "Not this time. I'm not fighting another woman for a man who can't even keep his lies straight." Something in me loosened at those words. We talked for another half hour. She told me about their first date. Ironically, at the same restaurant where I had been waiting to see them. I told her how I met him at a friend's barbecue. We compared stories, realizing he'd recycled the same lines, the same gestures, the same surprises. By the end, it felt less like a confrontation and more like a strange kind of therapy session. When we stood to leave, Emily looked at me and said, "Let's do it together." "Do what?" I asked. "End it. Same day, same time. Let him get the message twice." I smiled, an actual small smile. "All right." We exchanged numbers, not as rivals, but as 2 women who had just realized they were sitting in the same sinking boat. As I walked away from the cafe, I felt lighter. Not happy, not yet, but lighter. Because now, the truth wasn't mine alone to carry. Emily and I didn't wait long. We chose Sunday evening for the hit. The timing was perfect. He'd usually be home, winding down, scrolling his phone. We agreed to send our messages 2 minutes apart. No long paragraphs. No emotional essays. Just enough to make it clear that we both knew and were gone. We kept in touch that day, checking the clock, sending each other little updates like soldiers before a mission. At 7:58 p.m., Emily texted me. "Ready?" I typed back, "Ready." We counted down over chat. At exactly 8 p.m., I sent mine. "Daniel, you played the wrong women. We both know the truth now. Don't call me. Don't text me. We're done." I hit send, and for a second, my chest felt empty. 2 minutes later, Emily sent hers. She read it to me after. "You're not the man you pretended to be. Amara and I compared notes. We're both out. Enjoy your lies alone." We waited. I was on the couch, my phone in my hand, feeling like I just shut a door I would never open again. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Daniel." "What are you talking about?" "Babe, it's not what you think." I didn't reply. Emily didn't either. We sent each other screenshots of his desperate messages. The same excuses, the same "you're overreacting" lines. It was almost funny. Almost. How predictable he was. By 8:30 p.m., both of us had blocked him on everything. No chance for him to twist it, to charm his way back. The next weekend, Emily and I met again, this time at a small open-air food spot. No tension, no phones full of evidence. Just 2 women who had been through the same mess and had come out standing. We talked about other things. Work, family, plans for the year. We laughed at how similar our Daniel stories had been. We joked about how we should have met under better circumstances. At one point, Emily said, "You know what's wild? If you hadn't reached out, I probably would have stayed with him for months, maybe years. I nodded. Same. Sometimes the truth doesn't come from the person you expect it from. She looked at me for a moment, then smiled. We're proof that women don't have to hate each other over a man. That line stayed with me. Weeks later, I still thought about it. How easy it would have been for me to see her as the enemy. How easy it would have been for her to see me the same way. But in the end, the only real enemy had been him, and the lies he'd built like walls between us. I realized that night in the cafe wasn't just about exposing Daniel. It was about choosing the kind of woman I wanted to be, the kind who steps into the light, even when it's uncomfortable, the kind who doesn't let another woman drown in the same silence I'd been treading water in. Emily and I still talk, not every day, but enough. We check in, we send memes, we've even met for lunch a few times. Daniel? He's gone, out of my phone, out of my head. Whatever story he tells himself now, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I learned something I'll carry forever. Sometimes heartbreak doesn't just break you. It introduces you to someone who understands your scars without you having to explain them. And that's worth more than anything he ever gave me.